can we start by getting your impression of your character and kind of what drew you to it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what drew me ultimately, or like a real exciting aspect of Khadgar for me was kind of approaching someone who, at the outset, kind of develops into a really influential, kind of iconic character in the mythology of the game, and exploring that person before any of those achievements have been reached, before any of that prestige has been attained. So really kind of getting to enjoy and indulge almost in the kind of youthful folly of that, and the kind of arrogance that I think youth brings to certain people who are gifted before they learn the lessons that really make you great and really give you longevity. And so I think his so that was a real draw, and it's been really fun to kind of explore that and engage with that within the context of the film. So yeah, that's been really fun.
Were you familiar with the game at all?
Not insanely. I wasn't a gamer. I didn't play it very much. A lot of my friends are big gamers, and so I obviously knew of the game and the role that it's played kind of in my generation. And it's really just worked its way into the lexicon kind of growing up in my age. And so I obviously knew of it, and as soon as I found out that I got it, I kind of tried to dive into it and read as much as I could about the mythology. And there are these great there's a great book that Blizzard had a hand in publishing, that a lot of the cast and the crew have, that was just kind of a crash course basically in the mythology of the game and all the characters, and that was like a really good kind of jumping off point for us. Yeah.
So did you can you tell us about the process of getting the role and stuff, because we haven't really talked about that with many of the actors. It's kind of like how it came about. And I
was doing a film in London, and my agent who also represents Sam Rockwell, who'd worked with Duncan and Stewart, called me up and said, you need to Skype with Duncan Jones, because he's directing Warcraft. And I said, okay. And so Duncan and I Skyped and just had a chat. I hadn't read the script hadn't been released, but we just had a chat about everything, and he kind of pitched his approach to the film and was very adamant about how he wanted to give equal weight to both sides of the story, to both the Horde and the Alliance, and kind of their journeys. And it was really appealing, and he was extremely enthusiastic, and that is a real turn on when you talk to someone who's not, just who's curious and who's excited about something. It's infectious. And so as soon as I got home, I put myself on tape for it, and then put myself on tape again. And then like the week before Christmas, got a phone call, and game was on, man. Yeah.
Was that an exciting moment for you?
Really exciting, yeah.
How did you celebrate?
What did I do? Well, it was Christmas like the next day, so that worked. It kind of worked well. But it's interesting because I had just done a few films back to back, and so I was kind of like, I think maybe I need to just like take a step back and reassess and like get my life together a little bit. And so I called my agent and I was like, right, if Warcraft doesn't go anywhere, I think we're going to take a bit of a break. And she was like, yeah, that's cool. And she called me up and she was like, hey, remember that break you wanted to take? Yeah, it's not going to happen, Benny. So it was it was a welcome surprise for sure.
Well, we asked this to other actors as well, but was there any trepidation as to making a video game movie, even though it was Duncan Jones directing it?
I think no, I know exactly what you mean, and it's interesting because that thought hadn't really crossed my mind until I was asked it in kind of a press thing that we did about a month into shooting. I think just the way that Duncan spoke to me about the project from the outset, I never really looked at it as an adaptation of a video game, and not to sound kind of grandiose or anything like that, but I felt like Warcraft it's kind of made its way to it's established itself as a bit more than just a video game. And so for me, it was kind of like, we're gonna make a fantasy epic, And as soon as I read the script, it didn't read to me like oh, let's go kind of try and cash in on this popular thing. It was a story with a lot of integrity, and it was very exciting. And so, no, I haven't really felt too much trepidation about it. Yeah, it's a really interesting question, though. Yeah.
Is this the first really big scale special effects movie that you've done? Like, how has that differed from the other movies?
It's differed a lot. It's really interesting because there's so much of the spectacle is going to be added kind of in post, and so kind of playing off of concept art has been it's interesting and it's exciting. And I think I remember Bill Westenhofer saying to us early on, just parish notice, guys, like, the stupider you feel doing it now, the better it's going to look when the film is complete. And so I think that's kind of been my mantra going into it, because and even seeing kind of the previs animation that he's shown us, it really jazzes you up and it really excites you and it really makes you want to go, if you're looking at a mark on a blue screen, or you have to, right, so then you cast a spell like that, it really makes you feel like, okay, we're gonna cast this spell now. You really want to, sink your teeth into it. But it's been crazy. Riding horses was that's a to-do. Like sitting on horseback when a bunch of people are pretending to kill each other around you is nerve-wracking.
Yeah. You riding the horses on the stage?
Yeah. And so you have like horse riding lessons, but on the day you're not riding in like an empty arena with a coach right next to you. You're surrounded by extras and 30 other horses and dodging light. Well, that's the thing. And like lights and smoke machines and wind machines, horses don't like that stuff. It freaks them out. And so that was trial by fire. But it was fun. Travis is a real cowboy, so kind of seeing him do his thing, I was like, well, I can't really complain, so yeah.
So were you wearing one of like the suits of armor? Is that the
Thank God, no, I was not wearing one of the suits of armor. At first, I was really jealous that I wasn't, and like all these guys got to do sword fighting, and I was kind of bummed out. But after about the second day of shooting, I realized how lucky I was not to, because they're huge.
So were you a guy in a gray suit with ping pong balls, or were you wearing like robes?
No, I'm wearing like robes, yeah. A satchel, a man purse, as the costume ladies affectionately refer to it. Kind of more wizard robes, not as full on as Ben Foster's getup. Yeah. But more kind of mage peasanty clothes. But the armor's full on. It's a whole thing, just getting that thing on. So yeah.
You said this was your first kind of big special effects heavy thing.
Mm-hmm.
How much have you had to deal with the mocap, and how has that experience been?
It's interesting. My experience with the mocap has been quite limited, because the two stories run very parallel, but there's very little. I mean, there's obviously enough crossover to perpetuate the conflict, but I haven't had a great deal of scenes with a lot of the mocap actors. I've had a few, and it's interesting. It's weird. Like, I think the amount of movement work that they've done it's advanced and in depth enough that it really kind of stimulates your imagination, the way they walk, the way they pitch their voices. It's interesting sometimes when they have to fit things to scale, so you have something to respond to. So it's like lots of apple boxes.
That's one thing I was super interested in.
Yeah.
Is like you have to respect their space as a performer, and it's so much different than their actual physical
Exactly.
space.
There's a scene where, I'm hopefully not giving too much away, but where one of the orcs has his hands on me. And so the actor who's playing him, they had to fit him with a massive hand just so we could play off it to scale. So if I need to grab it or something like that, you've got a reference point, But it's fascinating. It's been really interesting kind of seeing how it's all going to work, and seeing the previs of the way the orcs are going to look is I'm excited.
That's awesome.
A lot of the other actors kind of touched upon this kind of a climate of there being two gangs in between the actors. How was that? How did you deal with that? Like, the guys playing the orcs are all like,
right.
there, guys.
It's a
You
lot
guys
of like
another group.
ribbing and a lot of like every time you show up you'll see the orc sitting there and a lot of the stunt guys and like just Ben there, everyone's looking for you, you're late and blah blah blah, and then I'd show up and be like, oh, you guys are all wrapped, you're not supposed to be here. Just kind of like little like jokes like that.
Yeah.
It's funny, there's one scene where we kind of meet for a parlay and it's a bit of like a showdown, and so there were a lot of Jets and Sharks and West Side Story jokes made. But it's fun. It keeps things light and it keeps things. And when you foster a sense of play, it lets you kind of check your inhibitions at the door. So, like I said, if you're playing a fantastical creature or you're playing someone who can do magic, the fewer inhibitions you have going into it, the more fun you can have, and I think the better work you can do as far as serving the imagination of the story. You don't feel stupid about diving into it. You can just play with your friends pretty much, At least I'm not wearing gray pajamas and armor, so we're good. Man purse,
You're
I'll
the
take
luckiest
it.
guy,
Yeah.
because like we had people complaining about heavy armor, we had people complaining about just having great pajamas.
Well, that's the thing, and then I can't really complain.
Yeah,
So they kind of
you
pull the
have
rug
to
out from
just-
under me.
you
I'm
have
like,
a
what am I going to do?
costume, but it's not
Keep
heavy.
your phone in the purse.
Keep my yeah.
Yeah. So it's like
Doritos just snagging the whole time.
So
What
talking
else?
with the different casts, I was kind of surprised at the different accents that
Yeah.
everybody has. And is that something that you guys normalize on set? Is it going for the standard, fantasy European accent?
Well, it's interesting because when I put myself on tape, I read in a British accent every scene that I sent to Duncan, and he was like, "Right, maybe try an American accent." And I tried it, and I was like, "No, it doesn't work. Like, you can't speak this in an American accent." Khadgar's not American. And then a few days before we started shooting, he was like, "I think we're gonna go." Everyone kind of just do a watered down version of their own accent in order to basically in order to give it. Duncan was adamant about not setting the film in a scene where it felt like, oh, it's a period piece. He was very adamant about it's a different world that we're inhabiting now. So it's not, oh, it's England in the 1400s. No, it's a different world. So we have a multi-ethnic cast. We have various different accents. It's not. It's more kind of colorblind than
Screening.
specific things. Right? Yeah. Exactly. And so it's interesting. Yeah. It's been interesting.
I guess you could have just been from a few towns over, where they have a slightly different accent.
Slightly different accent, exactly. Yeah. But I think it kind of works. But it's interesting because another
mouth, and now it's
exactly.
This way.
There's different spells I cast depending on my accent and whom I'm speaking to. But but then another thing Duncan said was he was like, I think it'll work that Ben's American and you're American and you're the two kind of most prominent mages in the film, and so that works.
I didn't even consider that. That's a cool way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
So magic is American.
Exactly. And swords are English. There you go. You've got it now. You've got it. Spoiler alert.
Ben,
Uh-huh.
he was talking about how he approached playing a magic user and kind of like the philosophical
Mm.
bent that he took with that. I don't know if you took the same route or if you were probably maybe playing your character as more, with a little more braggadocio or something like that.
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit about how you approached, like, I'm casting spells now?
Totally. Yeah, I think we Ben and I had a few good chats in pre-production about the nature of magic, and we did a lot of cool work with our movement coordinator on it. And that was a big challenge, was trying to the most fantastical elements are the ones that you most need to root, and the ones you really need to pull down and make as real for yourself as possible. And one thing we wanted to avoid was we didn't want it to be at all, it wasn't showmanship, it wasn't Vegas, it wasn't spells and wands and stuff like that. It's the real deal, and we don't know anything other than the real deal. And so I wanted to create something very physical and kind of visceral and very rooted about it. And a lot of times magic gets all up in the air, but we wanted to keep it really low, and we wanted there to be a visible effort to it, so that, because that was another question we got asked, was like, well, if you guys can do magic, why don't you just magically make everything okay? Right. And it's just not the way it works, it's like, it's effort, and
You can cook food,
it has a
solve
cost.
world hunger.
Right, yeah, no, exactly, yeah. And so, but we wanted to not demonstrate, but we wanted to show the cost of it. And so there was a real kind of philosophical discussions had I think the Kirin Tor and growing up in the Kirin Tor, it's like kind of a monastic existence. So it's kind of like being a lama chosen in Tibet, where as a young child you get brought into this, order that you're trained in and you grow up in. And so that was really interesting to explore, and I think that's something we tried to drive home.
It's interesting because like you're playing at that effort and that sacrifice almost from a totally different perspective than what Ben's character would be doing.
Yeah.
Because it's already taken its toll on him.
Exactly.
And you're rising with it.
Exactly, and there are different, and it's been really interesting watching Ben. Ben's brilliant, and it's been like a crash course in acting in front of a camera, getting to work with him. But it's been fun watching his kind of evolution of his journey within the magic, and getting to really kind of look at that and play it as if this is me doing it all for the first time. So it's Khadgar has been a student his entire life, and this is the first time he's going out and experiencing it in real situations. So it's like you guys go to school, and it's the first, you're on your first job now, and you're actually doing it. And so I wanted there to be, I guess if you study journalism, you get taught certain things in school. And, your first interview, you're asking all the textbook questions that you should ask. And so certain spells, I wanted to be very textbook for Khadgar. He's a good student, but now he has to make it...
He has to have practical knowledge.
Exactly. And so there are certain spells that Ben will cast and make them look very effortless and quite beautiful. Whereas with Khadgar, it's a bit more... It's more utility. It's more... we don't have the flair with it yet. We don't have that ease with it yet. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, no, it's been a trip. It's been cool.
So have you got into any magic yourself now?
Well, it's weird because when we first came here, Ben and I were both like, right, we got to start getting, reading about magic, and I ordered all these books, but like all the books I got on magic were like how to perform a seance on your own to like make someone fall in love with you, and like buying weird stones. Oh no, I can do that. Yeah, no, I've gotten. You go to like magic stores. I'd like look up all these magic stores in Vancouver, and I end up at the mall, like going into these, and I'm like, oh, actually. So I think kind of early on we decided that it was something much more mythical and much more,
So you didn't have to learn any card tricks?
No, like just dubs flying out of everywhere. Yeah.
Dubs?
No, I'm sorry, dude. Yeah, you can go.
From Dove Monthly.
Oh yeah. I'm from the zoo. This isn't gonna work.
Have you made a mage in WoW?
Sorry.
Have you made a mage in WoW?
How do you mean?
A caster.
In the game.
Oh, in the game. No, I haven't. No, I haven't yet. Don't tell anyone. No, I've not. No, I'm looking forward to playing the game. I was a little bit. Rob, have you spoken to Rob Kaczynski yet?
No,
Does everyone keep talking about Rob?
Yeah.
Because he's logged like over 400 days playing Warcraft. So I was kind of like, if I start playing the game, I might stop showing up for work. But I think there was also a bit of an effort not to kind of look at this as look at it for the media that it is, and not want to try and play something or play an idea or a preconception of what I think it should be perceived as, but try and kind of not complicate it.
Now,
Yeah.
do any of the Alliance mages, like the Kirin Tor mages, do they ever interact with Gul'dan at all? Who's like a warlock, and they're kind of different types of magic, or does that?
There are definitely different types of magic. There's definitely a stark difference between white magic, so to speak, and like fell magic.
Yeah.
And physically, it's something that once again, when we talked about magic being a very natural, rooted thing, and fell magic, it's an unnatural.
Gul'dan.
It's like parasitic. It's all decrepit, and and so when kind of evil incantations are spoken, it sounds very unnatural. It sounds very. It almost sounds like. You ever see The Exorcist? When they play her when she's speaking backwards.
Yeah.
And the first time I heard it, that's the first thing I thought. It's very unsettling. And so there are a few scenes where there's a crossover and where mages of the Alliance kind of deal with warlocks from the Horde. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
It is, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, me too.
Just one question regarding the fan base of the games.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something you are kind of a little nervous about because you know you're always expectations?
We're all crazy.
Or is it something where you as an actor just try to ignore it as good as you can, don't worry about it at all? Or?
I do try not to let it. I mean, it's something that I'm aware of. I'm trying not to let it impede my work. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and the thought will really motivate me and inspire me and excite me. Every now and then you wake up and you're just like, holy shit, like, oh my god. But it's something overall that kind of excites me, and I try and look at it as a base of support, you know, and that's the thing. And in these situations, the only thing you can do is really like work your butt off and do your best, and hopefully the chips will fall where they may and people will be pleased. And I think, you know, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. I am. But yeah, I think in anything, when you take on a role that's got a certain place and a certain expectation for people, if you're going to go play Hamlet, it's not useful to think like, right, I got to go play Hamlet now. You have to just kind of say to yourself, I'm just playing a dude. Like, I'm playing a guy who's in a shitty situation. And in this, it's the kind of thing where it's like, right, everything aside, this is a kid who's learning a lot about life and who's learning a lot from different mentors and who's venturing out for the first time. And so trying to look at it from a more human point of view. Yeah.
Any funny anecdotes from the set?
Yeah, there's been like a lot of funny anecdotes from the set. I think one of my favorites is going back to the horses. One of our first days of shooting in an interior forest. Travis has to kind of ride up to me and stop. And this is a testament to Travis, and like, he's the real deal. He has to like ride up to me, stop, say a line, and then like gallop off. And so Travis rides up and hits his mark.
Like the horse whisperer, right?
It's weird. I don't know how he does it, but like, he kind of gallops up, hits his mark. His horse is freaked out, so his horse starts turning around. He says his dialogue, and then he goes to turn his horse, and his horse rears back. So the horse rears back. Your first instinct when something's rearing back is to hold on to it. And all the wranglers on the side are like, don't pull it back, mate, don't pull it back. And Travis is trying to hold on. And so the horse starts like walking backwards on its 2 feet, and we got a big old tree right here. And so Travis's horse falls into the, like sandwiches Travis between the tree and the horse, falls down, gallops away. Travis has blood pouring down his face.
This is where Travis is wishing the stunt devil had done this.
Exactly. So I run up to Travis, I see the blood coming out of his face. I thought it was makeup, and I didn't want to freak him out, so I'm like, oh, okay, you're fine. Duncan comes up, he's like, mate, are you alright? And Travis literally just stands up, goes, yeah, I'm okay. Bit of a stiffy, but I'm alright. And then goes, literally 5 seconds later, gets back on the horse. I look over, the stunt and makeup people are gluing a cut over his eye closed, pouring makeup on him, and then they ended up having to shoot him from the other side because his eye was like swollen shut.
Oh no.
But literally, like, back on the horse.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that would have been it for me.
Like,
I'd have just thrown in the towel. I'd just been like, sorry guys, no. But that was kind of that was the first time we did something, and I was like, oh wow, like, you actually just do it.
You're like
that was a fun one. Yeah.
Are you now trying to get hurt and just like play it off?
I just need some attention because I need to get some people talking about anecdotes about me. You know?
We got none about you.
I know.
Honest.
Spell.
It's because I'm
Fell
really good at like
It
writing
seems
and
like you
everything
did
that I have to
nothing
do.
wrong.
Exactly.
Most anecdotes
So,
come from that.
exactly.
So maybe like if you're gonna do something today, maybe just strip.
We've only got like a week left, so I'm probably
Yeah,
gonna
you
just
gotta-
try and mess up as much as I can.
Maybe try to mess up the last day. People remember that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You're smart.
Oh, the doves.
The
Last
doves,
day,
yes.
Bring a
Last
dove
day.
out.
Good
and
call,
go like,
dude.
"Oh, it was a decision.
It was a choice. It was a character
I was
choice.
making a choice. You didn't like that? No problem. You will do a retake. But I just thought.
Exactly.
You know,
Done.
As you walk
I'm
out
just-
the
good idea.
slow motion doves.
Slow motion doves.
behind you.
That'll just be the trailer. That'll be the teaser. Let's be like me with doves flying
And
out.
you're like dual
Warcraft.
magic.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Magic. Doves.
Doves.
The world of Warcraft.
Solitary seance in my room. Yeah.
And that's your name. And then,
Right, exactly. Yeah.
We're
Guys.
sorry for this.
Oh, no. Pleasure. God, no, thank you. This has been like the most fun interview I've done. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers. Thank you. Have a good one, guys.